Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Crystal and this is Books Forever After, where I sit on my floor, we talk about everything and all things books. So today is a recent reads video. These are all the books that I read in August and September. Kind of had to combine them a little bit. It's been a little bit delayed due to other unforeseen circumstances, and I know I've been promising this for you guys too for a while. So here it is. And this is the recent reads that I'm really excited about because especially about August. August was the romance readathon, and that was hosted by Maggie from Maggie's Book and Stuff. She coordinated this whole thing and planned it out. It was so done very well. I'm super just impressed by her. She also did she did little, it was focused on like Bridgerton kind of a thing, like the society papers, and she wrote a whole story every week and things like that, like a little story for each kind of team. And there's like 5 teams and things like that, and I was on the seductress team. So as you can see, I got a little shirt here. So I picked red. It's like kind of cool. She actually did little merch and stuff like that. So now I have a shirt here to commemorate that experience, and I'll show you here. So yep. So yeah, that was really fun. So excited about that. So that was really cool. And what I really enjoyed most about it was how many friends and other people I got to chat with about books, and it was just, especially historical romance, that was like the main theme and everything, so that was really great. I will link down Maggie's channel down below, and I will link the video where she announced it if you were curious about that. I believe she is going to be hosting it again next August. I don't know if it's going to be the same month, but next time around this year, and she's gonna change up the theme each year, so it's not just going to be like historical romance theme. It might be fantasy or something like that, so or romantasy, so to speak. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I had so much fun. It was just such a blast. Alright, so because I am combining 2 months, I will be breaking this up by August and then September, and I will link down some chapters as well, so you can skip along as you need to. As always with my recent reads videos, I always have chapters for each book by the title, the name of the book. So if you wanted to skip ahead to that book, if you're to whichever one you're more interested in reading, that is fine. Or if you want to watch all the way through, that is cool too. So and don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this from me as well. All right. So with that all the way, let's get started. So in August, I read 10 books, and I had 1 DNF. I started the readathon with a new release that I was really excited about. That was from the same imprint publishing house as Fourth Wing, and that was Starbringer by Tracy Wolff. This was the Breakfast Club in space, kind of was how it was kind of the premise. I really didn't even get 10%, and I was reading this during one of the sprints that was hosted by, that be put on for the romance readathon. That was really cool too, to have all these reading sprints during the romance readathon, and that was so much fun to be able to join. I kind of DNF'd out pretty quickly and like switched on into the new to the next book as well. So majority of these I did read a little bit of, like, majority were historicals, but I also wanted to read like sci-fi and things like that. So DNF'd it, didn't even read it because I didn't really get far enough to me to want to continue on. And this is the same author. I think it's kind of weird. I think it's by Tracy Wolff, but also Nina something. I'll put this picture on the screen. So it looks like it's kind of like a co-writing thing. And Tracy Wolff is the same author that wrote the YA series, the Crave series, which I read the first book of, and I'm just it's like a very similar to Twilight kind of feeling. Just, you know, just the vibes on that. So and I'm kind of semi lukewarm about the writing in this Starbringer. So it was very there's a lot of action, but it just felt there's a lot of different point of views and points of view, and the writing was just I just couldn't connect with it. It just felt like it was all over the place, and not each character really didn't really have a distinct voice, and it just didn't flow very well to me with the writing style that I had. And next I read The Countess by Lynsay Sands, and this is a new to me author, and I have it here. So this is actually the step back. I'll show that too as well for all of my step back girlies. So this is exactly what I needed for the start of this romance readathon. It was very light and fun. I rated this a 4-star. So much fun. Just picture like if Earl had to die, but in a romance, historical romance. It was just so much with the hijinks, the banter, a little bit of the spicy steaminess. It was just great. So this follows Christiana, and she is married to the Earl Richard Bargrave, and he's just not a nice guy. So basically she's married to a guy, you know, Earl, is just really funny. So he's not a very nice guy at all. He's very abusive towards her, just mentally and emotionally, and very like cutting her off from her sisters, who she's very close to. Classic signs of a abuser that way. Until one day she discovers that his dead body when he's in the library. So he has been murdered somehow, and then what's discovered, murdered somehow, and then she gets her sister's help to kind of put him on ice. She didn't want his death to kind of put a halt onto her sister's debut into getting a good match. So there's the whole thing with the rug, moving things up, trying to keep it quiet for the butlers and things like that. And then also when she discovers that the real Earl appears, and which is basically his twin brother. So then the question of who was the real the man that she was married to wasn't the real Earl, so was she truly, you know, things about the inheritance and things like that. So the diary, and it's just so much hijinks. It was just so much fun. It kind of like if you like a mystery element to it, it was kind of, for me, I don't really like mystery books, but this was like a very fun way into it, and just so much fun to read. It was a little bit like slow to 3/4 because I think something with the grasping of like the romance part of it, the romantic element, it was a little swoony, but a lot of the other things kind of, the romance wasn't completely the main factor. I think it wasn't as even as I like to have my romance be like the main part of it, but it was still a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. And next I read The Highwayman by Kerrigan Byrne. This has, oh, it was so good. This is like a dark noir historical romance. It's very, the setting feels dark. It's a very broody hero. I just love these characters. This is book 1 in the Victorian Rebels, and I know The Hunter is still on my TBR to read for that one as well. That's book 2. Really, for me, this was all about the angst. The tub scene. Oh my god, the tension in that scene was so good, and it carries on for a couple of chapters, and it was just, I didn't even care. Some people could say that like slow pacing, but it was just perfect. There was just that heightened sense of tension, and between the two main characters, it was just so great. It also has slight Phantom of the Opera vibes. This book was giving everything and I loved it. There is captor captive. For the tropes, there's captor captive, forced proximity, grumpy sunshine, scarred damaged hero, brooding tortured hero, widow, second chance, and childhood friends to lovers. So this follows Dorian Blackwell. He is called the Blackheart of Ben Moore. He is known as a ruthless villain. He is scarred and hard-hearted, and he's one of London's wealthiest, most influential men, who will stop at nothing to wreak vengeance on those who wronged him. And this also follows this widow, Farah Lee Mackenzie. Follows Farah as well, who had a childhood friend to lover. She ended up kind of marrying and those things during some situations at a boarding school. And she is and due to reasons she is hiding from certain people who are looking for her. I can't remember his name. I think it's Declan. I can't remember his name. Anyway, Declan, they get separated. Declan ends up going into ends up being in prison, and he meets Dorian there, who they are known as the Blackheart brothers. So and years later she meets the man named Dorian, and he ends up kidnapping her, and things kind of ensue from there. And there's a little bit of a suspense plot in this as well, but it doesn't take over the romantic element at all, because just perfect for me, because I want the romance, the swooniness. This is just absolute perfection, and you need to read this if you haven't. I don't know why I waited so long to read this. I truly don't. So this is absolute all-time favorite, 6 stars. Next, I read How to Marry a Marble Marquis. This is a historical monster romance. It's my very first introduction to that subgenre, and a new to me author. It is by C.M. Nascosta. I rated this a 3-star. It was okay. I think part of it is because the male main character just wasn't really likable, redeemable in the beginning, and it's a part where even though after he met her and he's kind of helping shepherding her and to try to he assists her in getting connections or getting a husband in this a monster ball that happens because she didn't fail to be successful in the human ball area, bon ton kind of a thing. And the thing I didn't like about it is he's attracted to her and everything, but he ends up also still having relations with someone else. So he's been known as a rake kind of playboy. He is a gargoyle as well, as you can tell. But yeah, so I kind of, especially in a monster romance, I want them to be sweet kind of a thing. So yeah, I didn't really like that part. There's a lot of seduction lessons here as well. But there was and so these are gargoyles, so they turn into stone during the day. So there was a very interesting or creativeness in some of those relation elements between the spiciness between the two main characters during that, as you can imagine. So yeah, it was a 3-star. It was okay. I'm still gonna probably try something else by this author. This one just wasn't my favorite. Next, I read Falling into Bed with a Duke, and I rated this a 3-star as well. This is part of the Hellions of Havisham by Lorraine Heath, and I have read Lorraine Heath before. I read one of her Western romance, and that wasn't my favorite either. I think that was a 2 or 3-star. This one was a 3-star. I am more interested in I'm interested in getting to book 2, which is the they call it the gorilla book, what it's known for. So that was like really interesting. That has twins there as well, twin brothers, and that's what I'm looking forward for that one. But this one is this is following a spinster Minerva Dodger who hasn't been having very success during her seasons, and so because of that, she's tired and fed up about, you know, she wants to at least still have her fun and things like that, and she wants to go to Nightingale Club and seek a person there to, which is basically like a sex club situation, to kind of, so that way she can get rid of her virginity, that kind of thing, so she can have a night of pleasure and things like that. So at this establishment, ladies don masks before they choose their lover, so that way, you know, they keep their anonymity there. And the Duke of she meets the Duke of Ashbury there, who is more than willing to help her there. And then what ends up happening is he meets her outside after this situation. I don't think they end up actually doing anything, but he meets her in real life outside, and he recognizes her because of her voice and things like that. So now he has to woo her to somebody that he've already met, and that whole thing and that whole dynamic on that relationship. It's been a while since I read it. It's been August, a little delayed, so that is much what I remember. That was kind of a really interesting way of this whole cat and mouse kind of game a little bit. Switching gears, next I read after that, I finished Daughter of the Drowned Empire by Frankie, Diane, Mallis. This is book 1 in the Drowned Empire series, and this also is a new all-time favorite book, 6-star book for me. This is a new to me author as well. I think this is her first, she's a debut author for this, and this book is really, it's Cleopatra meets Throne of Glass with, I want to say, Fourth Wing vibes, just a little bit. So this follows 19-year-old mage Lady Lyanna Batavia. I'm probably wrong with that. She's third in line to the seat of power, and she's in the position of wealth and privilege, not unlike, you know, Cleopatra. And Bamaria falls under the rule of the Lemurian Empire, and they're like the survivors of a celestial war whose island sank in the drowning. So this also gives me kind of like City of Atlantis vibes as well. So it's got a very Roman-esque inspired, with magical griffins and, oh gosh, what's the other one called? There's 2 different types of creatures that are pretty good that they use as like travel. They use them as kind of like horses, so that kind of thing. So yeah, they have like griffins and things like that. So it also has a bit of like forbidden magic aspect as well, because there are 3 types of, because when you turn 19 you have to submit to this ceremony to reveal what your powers are if you decide to become a mage or if you become Sartorian. So everyone in this land has magic powers. You either become Sartorian or become a mage. Sartorians are kind of like the army and things like that, and their magic is helping them in their bodies, and it gives them more strength than a normal average human would. And the mage, of course, is just actual magical powers and things like that. So the 3 forbidden magics are, I can't remember exactly what they're called, but is mind reading, visions, and travel, instant travel. So being able to travel, I can't remember what it's called. You find out like this is her 2 sisters who are older sisters than her 2 older sisters, each of their revealing ceremonies is revealed to have this forbidden magic. And if you have this forbidden magic, you're instantly kind of like taken away and assumed to be killed. At this first ceremony, her first sister is revealed to have magic, but only to her and her dad. Her dad actually covers it up after covers up this fact, her cousin is also revealed in the same ceremony, but because he can't do that again to protect, he's kind of like a ruler. It's kind of a very interesting world building, and that's something also I really appreciate about the author. She also puts like, kind of explains the hierarchies of this world and things like that. So basically there's like these rulers, and then there's like a people above it that rule, kind of like a multi-tier, and then like the emperor of all of them. It's very interesting. And so she's like devastated by that. She's dating this guy and she's doing this all to protect everything, and it's very, very intense. And then she also has this history of connection with Ryan Hart, who is also part of one of the imperator or something like that, from another land, and he's one of the heir for that as well. And he comes to this school, comes to her chance to, when she has to do her ceremony, it's revealed that she doesn't have any magic. So, and that brings up a whole kind of other certain problems. She has to, they make a acquiesce that she can train as a Sartorian. They almost were going to exile her because she didn't have any magic. But she ends up being able to train with a Sartorian and has to join with Lord Reinhardt, who has been exiled himself as well and is seeking refuge in her land. So he's already looked upon as like not good in that whole thing. And then she also, so she's linked to him. Part of this world as well as the two Sartorian, I forget what they're called, they're like not companions or whatever, but there's like a magical component that, you know, you go through a ceremony and you're kind of bonded. She's like bonded for them, and she has 7 months to train as a warrior with him before going through this test, but done by the emperor for her to be able to stay in this country. And one of the other forbidden things is two people who are connected, the Sartorian, this connection, I think it's between, oh gosh. As you can see, it's kind of a forbidden love aspect as well. So they kind of become parts of that. So yeah, it's a lot of interesting. I like the training aspect. If you like the whole, you're with the character, and what I really like as well is she's, because she has to start over, it's really her having to build upon her strength, and her stamina to become, you know, to be able to be successful. And also as well, the reason why they're doing all this training is there's this threat of these creatures to where you can be morphed into, people can, basically where they eat you or eat your soul, but you can also be changed into them as well, and just, you know, and that's also part of it as well. So it's been told that like 5 Sartorians can take down one of these creatures, so there's a lot of that aspect as well. So really love it. Ryan has my heart. He's like the awful book boyfriend. I really love Leanne as well. She's also there's a lot of like representative anxiety in this book as well, so it's not, she has a lot of this. She's always battling this inner the politics and this inner battle of trying to put off a certain aspect of herself because of the strain and all the secrets that she's holding for her sisters, there's a lot of pressure. So I just love this one. Such a good start, instant favorite author, and I actually heard about this on Facebook as well, so that was just a really interesting way to hear about it, and this is one of those series that I really can't wait to own. And I even heard that they have the author just published like really pretty undercovers as well, and the covers themselves are really, really gorgeous, so I'll showcase that here. Next, I read The Kraken's Sacrifice by Katee Robert. I rated this a 2. Didn't like it. This is part of the A Deal with the Demon series. This is book 2. This follows Catalina, and she makes the deal with the demon, as these all is kind of like the premise for all of these books. They do something for you, and you have to stay 7 years in this world and be married to these creatures, and then you have your freedom to leave. You can stay or you can go, kind of a situation, but any children you have has to stay in that world, kind of a thing. So this one follows Catalina and Thane, who is a kraken. He is very cold and distant. They get isolated. To be honest, the writing was just very subpar. I think this is the book that kind of sealed the author's fate with me, as I've kind of liked her Greek ones, for those stories, but even those, I after the first one, The Neon Gods, I just read the second one. I didn't like that one either. So I just don't think, I did really like the first one in the series, like the dragon one. And this one was also feels like she was coming too strong on trying to put her point across with political in her writing without really explaining anything. And without even really developing on the story and things like that, it came across on that, which I'm always there for representation, but there's also other aspects as well of forcing, there's like 2 political things in this book that she's trying to force, which is fine, and this is a couple that doesn't want children as well. That's another like aspect of it. It's just, I didn't like it, and I just don't understand why the author wrote this book. It just felt like she didn't, all she wanted to put those 2 points across and give me a story, you know what I mean? It wasn't just felt like there's no effort put into this novella. So, and when I can feel that in an author's writing and the quality of their writing, it turns me off of wanting to read their works anymore. So I think for now I'm done. With this author, I don't know if I will continue on. Next, I read The Perks of Loving a Wallflower. This is an FF romance, or sapphic romance. I thought this was actually cute. This is book 2 in this series, and this is a new to me author as well, by Ridley. It was a 3-star. I think the problem with me is I like the aspect of it being a sapphic romance. I actually wish there was just more romance in this part. And I do appreciate that, like, Thomasina is like, she's like a master of disguise, so she does all these different disguises as part of her and her siblings do these good works on, you know, kind of like vigilantes in a way. And I think because I read book 2 first, I kind of lost out on the context. So this is really why I like to read series in order, unless it's been explicitly explained to me that it is okay to be, it's a standalone. You don't need to read the books before it. And this also has more of obviously a very more modern take on the historical romance. So if you you wish there was just more historical accuracy, you may not like this one. But I did like the sapphic part of it. I just wish there was more focus on, but just in historicals in general, more historical accuracy and just more focus on, I still want banter, but I just don't want the other, like, external plot kind of thing, and, like, not the actual romance to the couple. I'm like, I don't feel like they actually got to know each other and talk to each other that much in this book. So it felt like on the sidelines, and I want them to be the focal point. So yeah, that was just part of it. I just wanted more of the romance, because by the time that they get to, like, the one spicy scene there is in this one, I didn't really feel the connection as much. So, but yeah, so I don't know, I'll see if I will read another one by this author. I just want there to be a little bit of tension and angst, and maybe a swoon me a little bit as well. So yeah, it was okay. It was just not my favorite. Next, I read Captive of My Desires by Johanna Lindsey. This is part of the Mallory Anderson series. And I ended up rating this a 3-star as well. This was my buddy read or read along that me and April were doing for as part of our read along with the series. I think I didn't like this one as much because it just focused so much more, as I've said before, on the other characters. It didn't really focus on the main characters as well. So that's kind of where I kind of get, it was getting exhausting. It's starting to be a common theme to where we're so focused on the characters from Gentle Rogue and just the other family sibling dynamic and banter that we lose the banter between the characters and their actual relationship. And when that suffers, then it, to me, it's just, it's historical fiction with a subplot of romance and not really historical romance, and that kind of makes me sad. This follows Gabrielle Brooks, and she sails to England from to the Caribbean. She searches for her estranged father, and finds out that he's actually a pirate. And then she stays with him for 3 years hunting treasure, and then he insists that she goes to London for her season when she is old enough. And so he has her connect with James Mallory, you know, from Gentle Rogue, and Georgina, to be sponsored in polite society. And then she meets Drew Anderson, who is Georgina's brother, and he is a American sea captain. But what ends up happening is when Drew destroys Gabrielle's reputation the night before he set to sail, the pirate daughter vows to seek revenge by commandeering Drew's ship and taking him prisoner. So that whole part of, like, I really liked that part when they were together on the ship. That was really the only best part, was when they're together on the ship. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Gentle Rogue a little bit as well, when she was holding him hostage and things like that. So that part was great. I just wished it was more focused on those kind of hijinks and them together. It just quickly dissolved into the other plots, and not really focused on the romance. And then lastly with that month, I read The Serpent and the Wings of Night. That is book 1 by the Crowns of Nyaxia book by Carissa Broadbent. And I rated this a 5-star. This was really fun. This really focuses on, like, this human Aurea who is living in this world by vampires, and basically vampires reign supreme, and humans are just looked as chattel, and just their lives are not valued at all. They're just looked upon as prey. So she is, the king is her adopted father. And so she wants to, in order to become, not having to always constantly live in this survival mode, she enters herself into the Kajari, which is a legendary tournament held by the goddess of death herself, so by Nyaxia. So a lot of this book is following that. And then she meets up with Rain, who is part of a rival, like, species of vampires, I want to say. I don't know exactly, that was a little confusing. Basically he's an enemy from her, and they quickly become reluctant allies during this tournament, and they look out for each other and that kind of thing. So with him and his friend as well, so it was very interesting in that way. And most of this book is following this whole trials, so just know that going forward, that is, like, it's majority of this book is following the trials. First, this starts with their romance and things like that, and then the ending was just so good. It really stops on a very dramatic ending, and it was just very good. Star, but not an all-time favorite, but I think because I always want more angst and things like that. That's what I want. But I really liked the creativity and the originality that this author did with with vampires and creating this world that I haven't seen before. So that was a lot of fun. Next, so those were all the books that I read in August. For September, I read 9 books, and I had one DNF. That was American King by Simone. I don't know if Simone is my favorite author anymore, at least for the contemporary side. I do want to try her historical romance. This is like her Jane Austen retelling. I'll put that one up above there. This one just started off weird. So each book is kind of like following these, it's like a poly romance between the president, the vice president, and the first lady kind of a situation. This third book I just didn't, I think it was like a DNF. I think I read till like 53 or something percent, 23%, I can't remember. Yeah, 23%. I just didn't like it. It took on a weird magical realism situation, and then I had suspicions while I was reading it, and so I just ended up, you know what, I'm gonna DNF it. So I just went and spoiled myself, and yeah, I'm like, yep, I don't want to read this because very disappointing to me, which is funny because I rated book 1 and book 2, I think American Queen and then American Prince 5 stars. American Prince was good because it was focusing on, you get the backstory on the MM relationship. Book 1, you see how she comes in her relationship with him, with the president. I can't remember their names. But yeah, so it was just kind of disappointing. And next I read Fantasy Lover by Sherrilyn Kenyon. This is book 1 in the Hunterverse, and I first heard about this by Hannah from Hannah Blackwell, and I actually buddy read this during the romance readathon during September, at the very end of the romance readathon, with Tiffany from Tiff Talk Pages and Lynn from Lynn's Romance Reads, and we buddy read this, and it was a 4-star. It was just exactly what I was needing because it was like September and I was starting to get into that, like, you know, Halloween kind of vibe, and I wanted something campy and things like that. So paranormal romance. This put me in such a like mood to watch Charmed, and I did rewatch a couple of episodes because it just had me in that mindset. It was so much fun. It was basically like an episode straight out of a Charmed episode, and I just loved it. It was just so much fun. So basically what this is a Spartan warrior is trapped inside this ancient book, and Grace Alexander ends up somehow like summoning him. And so he's basically like a sex slave, and he has to align to every woman's sexual fantasy, whoever does this whole opens this book and like says a phrase or whatever. Obviously she was not wanting, and this is that she was kind of like coerced by her friend who actually introduced, who actually is kind of like part of the supernatural world, which I think from my understanding, the other series kind of focuses, you kind of learn more about, you know, that aspect of like there's more involved in this world that this is just kind of very surface level of like she has no idea kind of situation of this world on that. And so she definitely doesn't want to have anything to do with that, so they end up, and then she ends up trying to want to help him to break the curse, and so they can't break the curse they can't be together in that way so that he can break the curse, and as you can tell, that's can be very difficult. So it was a lot of fun, and it was nice and actually very, very sweet on their romance and trying to develop, and you know, so really getting to know each other besides physically. So it was really, really cool. I liked it. I read Guardian of the Drowned Empire by Frankie, Diane, Mallis. So that was book 2. I read book 1 in August, and I love this one even more than book 1. I did see somewhere that she said, again, this is the Cleopatra meets Throne of Glass with Fourth Wing vibes and, you know, City of Atlantis vibes as well. It's a very unique world, and I really, really enjoy it. This one was more focused on the training, and this is also where the trial happens in this book. A lot of fun, a lot of more involved more open to the world, learn more things. There's a lot more action that happens, some more like a very dramatic ending in this one as well. And I read somewhere on the Instagram that the author said that like initially this was supposed to be, well, I think it was from a book too. Initially this was meant to be one book, but because of how it was and how long it was, it needed to be 2 books. And she didn't want to condense it more and not be as well rounded as it needed to be, which kind of makes sense because book 1 did leave off on a weird, it wasn't like a dramatic ending, but it left off on like after dramatic, something big happens, and then now it's like, okay, this is the next day of like starting to train again and kind of a whole thing. So it was just that whole aspect. Love this so much. Like I said, Ryan is to die for in this one. His name is Ryan Hart. I just love the series and love these characters. And then after that, I read A Zodiac Academy, The Reckoning. This is a lot of fun. I don't know how fast I can read these. I guess there's gonna be 9 books now, so when I hear it starts getting kind of weird after like book 5, I think, you know, a little drawn out. So this is part of The Reckoning, where the senior students are tasked with making like the freshman life pure hell and that whole thing. So I don't want to get too spoilers onto this one, but this book series starts 2 twin fae changelings who are told at the beginning of this book that they are fae and they are transported to this world, and they have to attend this Zodiac Academy, and they also find out that their parents were killed, and they are also the lost princess heirs to this whole world. Well, this is like a dog-eat-dog kind of fantasy world, where power reigns supreme, and any hint of any kind of weakness is you have to like really survive. So there is there's magic based upon your horoscope, magic based upon which elements that you have, and also what magical creature you are. So there is like dragon shifters, there's werewolves, they're like wolf shifters, I think. There's sirens, and vampires as well. And it's also kind of a little bit of a bully romance because of the, especially really primarily in the first book as well. But there are, during this time, when their parents were murdered, there's 4 family heirs that rule the kingdom, and attending the school is the 4 male heirs to this, and so they were just trying to ensure that, you know, they don't take over and want to ascend to their role as rulers, and the twins just have to attend this academy just so they can get their inheritance, because they have been down on their luck before in the past in the human world. So yeah, really interesting. There's also a little bit of a forbidden romance aspect, or that kind of like a slow build. There is no like really spicy time in the first book, which I do like when it kind of like stretches that out a little bit. Professor Orion, who's also a vampire, is my favorite. So I love that dynamic. In this book, in The Reckoning, there's just a very funny scene where there is a school lesson on birth control. And the way they had to go about it was just, the magical element was just such a hilarious comedic scene, which I appreciate these authors did. So it was just really funny. So yeah, it was 5 stars. I don't know when I'll read the next one. So yeah, that was book 3. So I don't know when I'll read book 4, which is Shadow Princess. Maybe I'll read it in February, I'm not sure, but I'm just taking my time with it because I know these are really big books. And I've been basically reading these on Kindle Unlimited as well, so, but yeah. Next, I read Insatiable by Meg Cabot. I was looking for a vampire romance, and I recently picked up this one at a library book sale, which I will actually be unhauling after reading this one again. So I thought I read this book years ago, and I thought it was a different one that I did like. This is the one I didn't like particularly. So this is I want to say it's an adult, very rom-com-y vampire romance that really just pokes fun at the whole vampire craze, especially during the whole Vampire Diaries session after after the wave from vampire from Twilight. And this is also like a Dracula retelling. So I think I rated this one a 3-star. It's also part of like a duology. And the reason why I didn't like it so much because I realized what book 2 follows, and it doesn't even follow the romance for book 1, so it doesn't really continue on very well in that romance. So, but yeah, I don't know, it was very campy, I will say that, because I like that aspect, but other than that, it was very kind of lackluster. And it's made Cabot, so there's not really much spice to be had. It's a very closed door spice as well, so if you don't like closed door romances or spicy scenes, you won't enjoy that. And I think really the main consensus with this one is it just didn't age well. That's really, I think, the primary thing, is it didn't really age well for today. And next I read Belladonna. This was a really popular one, but I rated it 2-star. Now granted, this is probably during a time when I was going through some medical situations at home, and I was really just wanting something gothic and dark that would pull me out of, like, I was feeling slumpy, but this book didn't help me at all with the slumpy. It actually, I think I should have DNF'd it because it put me in a weird, even more of a weird reading slump. But this is a YA gothic horror, like mystery, I want to say. There is like a romance aspect, but to be honest, I don't think the romance really takes a lot to it. I don't know, I don't think I meshed well with this writing. I actually just wanted more of the romance part. My thing is the writing style just wasn't for me, and that's why I just dragged on and on. The first couple of chapters were actually very interesting. It kind of follows this party that this she's the main female character is a baby, and at this party where her mom is carrying around, all of the guests and everyone just dies by poison. And then somehow miraculously, because she's breastfeeding from her mom, she survives somehow. So she cheats death. So he comes to collect her and starts that way, and it ends up to where death kind of followed her throughout. So it really is a death in the making kind of retelling as well. And then it also follows like a mystery plot as well, when she, like, every caretaker of hers like just ends up passing away. So but yeah, that's really all I'll say for that one. The next I read No Choice But Seduction. That was our final piece in our buddy read with April in our read along. I think this one we decided that we don't want to read these anymore because it just became redundant and the same formula that we didn't like, or wasn't focusing on the romance. So that was a 3-star. This one just follows Boyd and Katie Tyler. So in this one, Anthony's daughter is like abducted from Hyde Park. And then somehow, like, Katie actually ends up trying to actually assist and help while she's traveling, ends up being able to assist his daughter and help save her from her would-be kidnapper or something like that. So, and then what ended up happening is Boyd was there, they all show up to, and he's like suspicious of her, and like he ends up like kidnapping her, and I don't know, it was just bad. I didn't like it. It was okay. That would be about it. The only reason why it's probably a 3-star is because I did like the character Katie. I'll also link down the live that April and I did, so you can get more of my thoughts, especially my most recent thoughts, because I'm sure I'm missing a lot of the information right now. But yeah, so I'll leave that down below for you. Next was a reread. I read Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I first read this in February. And then I read this a second time because I know the third book just released and I wanted to get to book 2, but I wanted to get in that mindset, and I didn't want to just watch read a review or watch a recap video of it. And I actually liked the fact that I did a reread, because the first time around I was trying to dual read it with an audiobook and the physical book, and what ended up happening was, because due to circumstances, I actually had to listen to it on the audiobook more often during my commute to work, and so I didn't feel like I was retaining a lot or really enjoying it that way. The second time around, I read it all in physically, and I liked that way a lot better, and I actually enjoyed it a lot better. So I really enjoyed it this time. It's a very nonsensical book, but yeah, and I'm sure you have heard of it, but yeah, this time I actually upped my rating from a 3 to a 4 with this one because of the reread. And then lastly, I read Solstice of the Drowned Empire, and this one I think is 0.5 if you're reading in series order of this. It's a novella, and I rated a 5 stars. So as you can tell, this series, this author is like a new all-time favorite, because I usually hate novellas and especially novellas in between a series. Like, I usually don't even read them, but this one was really good, and this one you need to read after book 2. If you read it first, you're going to get a lot of things spoiled for you in this book, so that's what I would recommend. So this kind of follows, there's this kiss thing that happens, I forgot to mention in my recap, but that happens at this event, and like 3 years later, Ryan comes, he's part of, when he's exiled, so they did have some involvement with a kiss in that one time, which is mentioned in the book, but I just forgot. And then this kind of follows that whole scenario and things like that happens, because in the book 1 and book 2 you kind of get her perspective after 3 years after that event, and now you get to see truly his side of it, so and it's in his point of view as well, which I really enjoyed. And that is it. Those are all the books that I read in August and September. Definitely most notable, The Highwayman has been my favorite, and the Drowned Empire series. So those are my 2 favorites. Really enjoyed those. Looking forward to continuing on with those authors. So yeah, let me know if you've read any of these, any of these were your favorites that you've read before, or which one you want to pick up. Always, I will have my Instagram and Goodreads down below, and my Amazon wish list. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you can see any time that I post. Okay, thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.